guys, Canadian Gun Girl again. Oh, sorry. Travis is on the other side. And in the middle, we're interviewing Rod Giltaca. So, first question I have to ask, would you prefer to be called Rod or Mr. Giltaca?
Oh, that's pretty formal. I think Rod's okay.
Okay. Very good to know.
Oh, my turn, I guess, eh?
Over to Travis.
Yeah. So, what's your background in guns? Have you had much, or is it just something you just kind of fell into over the years, or?
The super short story, the short version of the long story is, I never saw a gun in my life before I was in my middle 30s. And you're probably thinking, that guy can't even be 30, but it's true, I'm a little older. But I was doing business development in the United States, and I was working with the U.S. Navy, the Air Force, and the Marine Corps. Just regular business. I wasn't selling missiles. That would have been make for an even better story, but just building stuff. And I had never grew up with guns, never knew anything about guns. And the military guys were kind of working on me. I wasn't anti-gun, but I didn't have any reason that I would ever need a gun. I never thought I would ever need one. And eventually I got curious. I was actually at Camp Pendleton Marine Corps Base, which is about 100 kilometers north of San Diego, California. And I got curious, and I said, well, I'd like to shoot a handgun. So my liaison, who was a retired Marine Corps major, still to this day probably doesn't know what he created. He took me handgun shooting at a range just out a few blocks from the gates of Pendleton. And I just turned into a firearm fanatic.
Perfect.
That was it.
That's awesome. Yeah. You want to go next?
This is just a question, just in case people don't know. I have been told a couple times, but it keeps leaving my head. What does the CCFR stand for?
It stands for the Canadian Coalition for Firearm Rights.
Thank you. Another question is, where's the headquarters for the CCFR?
It's based out of Ottawa.
Okay, that's good to know. What is new with the CCFR?
What is new with the CCFR? I think the newest thing with the CCFR is we bought a advertising package from Wild TV. And so, to my knowledge, we're the first firearm organization in Canadian history to actually buy advertising on, mainstream television. And the purpose of that is not so much to educate non-gun owning Canadians, which is typically what the CCFR does, but it's particularly to get more gun owners involved, because there's 2.1 million licensed gun owners in Canada, and by our estimation, only around 20,000 of them, or 1%, less than 1%, are politically active. So we need all gun owners if you're gonna have guns past the time when I'm gone, right? Yes. So that's the goal.
Yes.
Okay. So what is one of your favorite firearms?
The AR-15, the greatest rifle ever made by human hands.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Doesn't sound like you want to argue that point, hey?
No, well, at one time I was all up for the SKS, because it was dollar for dollar. You could buy an SKS for way cheaper than you could buy an AR.
That's true, yeah.
On the same note, I just bought my first AR. So I've changed
hands. Convert.
Yes.
Excellent, all right.
Yes. So, yeah. What's next?
This is just a broad question. Who is your idol?
My idol? Well, my wife's pointing at herself. I think I'm supposed to answer that question. Well, I guess I know the answer now, right? Yeah. My wife. Because she puts up with me, maybe. That's what it is.
Good answer.
Mine is my father.
Safe answer.
My idol is my dad. Yeah. Travis, your idol?
Haley's dad.
Oh.
My wife. She lets me do this.
Yeah, there you go.
She lets me work in a gun store.
Yeah.
That's cool, right? So, what do you see in the future for Canadian gun owners? Like, do you see gun laws changing very much?
Yeah, I see a battle that's just going to rage forever, right?
Yeah.
And, I don't want to get too political, because we're trying to keep it light.
That's right, yes.
But you do have a group of people in Canada that don't believe that we should have firearms. And they're working overtime day and night to make sure that
it doesn't happen.
Yeah, that bit by bit we lose these rights. So it's just the way the world is. So we always got to be, we don't have to be obsessed about gun rights, but we just have to always be working towards something a little bit better. And
That's right, yeah.
you know, for me, the test is if a regulation or legislation doesn't have a measurable impact, positive impact to public safety, it just needs to go because it's just punitive. So we just want to make sure that everything's fair for everybody. Yeah.
Cool.
What is your regular job?
My regular job. What is my regular job now? I've had so many different careers. I'm currently a realtor for Sotheby's International Realty here in Chilliwack, Harrison, Hope, Abbotsford, and Chilliwack. If anybody needs, it's not a commercial for me.
Little plug. Yeah.
Yeah.
What's my question here? What range do you shoot at when you got time to shoot? Obviously.
Yeah, that was
Because
nice.
I find I have the same problem. We're busy, so busy in our lives that when we do get time to shoot, we enjoy it. Right?
I'm still a director at Abbotsford Fish and Game Club,
Okay.
but yeah, I don't have a lot of time to shoot.
You want to switch over to Chilliwack soon?
Actually, I do. I want to get a
really?
membership at Chilliwack as well.
Yeah.
Because what was great about Abbotsford before was that you could go there and there'd be nobody there most of the time.
Yeah.
And you can run around. At Abbotsford, we have 2,000 members now. My membership number is 571, and that's my second membership. My first membership number was lower, but now we have 2,000, so it's very different. Whereas
Yeah.
Chilliwack, you have the pistol pits.
Pistol pits are nice.
Yeah, so I'm kind of
Yes.
excited about those. So yeah, I want to get over there. Maybe you know somebody that can help me out.
We'll work on it.
Okay, yeah, no commitment. All right, that's okay. I get it.
Here's a question. Do you have kids, and if so, do they shoot?
I do have two children. They're not children anymore, but my son is 20. How old is he? I was going to say 22, and my daughter's 18. So my daughter's a little more interested than my son is. Yeah.
Yeah, my daughter is also interested. She's probably out of my three kids, she is the most of all of them. Yeah.
Cool.
Out of my siblings, I'm the most.
The most gun happy?
Yeah. What are your views on young shooters?
I think they're terrible.
Okay.
Okay. I think it's great. And, you know, as I said, you know, culturally, there are lots of people that wish that nobody had guns,
Yeah.
except, you know, the police and the military. That seems to be appropriate. And if we're going to keep our rights and keep our culture, then kids have to get into shooting. And there's a program actually called Project Maple Seed that I think is pretty new. You'd think I'd know. But anyway, and that's really interesting. It's getting young kids into shooting and making it affordable. And it's all based on 22s and stuff. So those kinds of programs, we need to keep those going for sure.
What's your opinion on female shooters?
They're terrible also.
Okay.
No, of course we need to get everybody involved, and there's actually a whole variety of specific reasons why firearm ownership and proper laws around that are more beneficial to females than they are even to males. So we don't need to get into what the intricacies of those things are, but yeah, absolutely, we need everybody. And it's not just for boys, that's for
Yeah.
sure.
Here's my question. What's your favorite color?
Purple.
That's my sister's. Mine's pink. Trev?
OD green. I
Oh
love
yeah,
OD green.
that was a far
That
more
was-
manlier
that was-
answer.
That was my.
No, my
I'm
favorite color is
sorry.
flat dark earth. How about that? You should have said gun color.
Yeah, but flat ducker, that gets dirty really quick, and it's just.
And that's why it blends in.
Good point.
Bam. All right, next.
So, where are you based out of? Like, are you based out of Abbotsford, Chilliwack? Where do
Yeah,
you call home?
I live here, right up on the mountain there. Yeah.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
And so, Civil Advantage, where is that still going forward? Is it still happening?
Yeah, I've sort of decided to wind that down a little bit. I've been doing that for quite a while, and I took the last year and a half off to do the CCFR, and all I was doing was teaching firearm safety courses every weekend. And you know, I get bored of things quick as it is.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
so I'm more than happy to move on to something else. But I'll be teaching a little bit, but probably not as much live fire as I used to
Okay.
do.
Cool.
Yeah.
Have you shot in the USA? Like, firearms in the USA at all?
I have. Yeah.
Okay. Do you
Yeah.
like it?
Yeah, they can have some different things that we can have, but you know, an interesting misconception is that people think that there's no rules in the USA and you can have anything you want all over the place. But there actually is a lot of gun control there, And in fact, in Canada, we have one advantage. We can have short-barreled, manually operated firearms that are non-restricted. So we can have short-barreled shotguns and short-barreled rifles, whereas in the United States, anything under 16 inches is treated almost like a machine gun. So we can have these short little shotguns. They're jealous of us, but they can have full capacity magazines and have handguns and you know, and shoot them out in the forest and stuff we can't.
Okay.
Okay, well, we're on that topic. What about like the Canadian gun laws? Do you see any real, like not so much changes, but do you think they should change, like towards conceal carry, and stuff like that? Do you think that you should see a change towards that?
Well, concealed carry works. That's a fact. You know,
It is,
I'm all
yes,
about
yes.
facts and on both sides of the argument. But I think it would just be it's going to be a long, long time if that ever happened.
Yeah.
Because we would need the majority of the population favorable to guns. And
We're
that's
working on it.
We're working on it, and and that's why the CCFR exists. So that's why we needed the CCFR, because that wasn't something that was being worked on. Other things were, to be fair, but just not public opinion. So I'd like to see things a little bit more reasonable, and I think there's some things that we can do that are easy to do and easy to sell, like being able to shoot any of your firearms on your own property if you live in an area where a firearm can be legally and safely discharged.
Yeah.
So if you have a farm and you can shoot rifles there, you should be able to shoot handguns there.
Yes.
Or the
yes.
forbidden, horrible AR-15.
Which isn't that scary at all.
Yeah, so I mean, these are little easy things to make people a little bit happier, to not victimize gun owners for the acts of a handful of people that might be easy to sell to the public. So I'd like to see no magazine size restrictions and a few other things, but those are things that are easy for us to do. So I'd like to see those done in the next few years. Yeah.
That would be nice to have the
Maybe after
magazines.
after the next election cycle.
Okay.
Would you like to say anything about Civil Advantage or the CCFR?
I think the CCFR is an awesome organization. I think all gun owners should be a member of a gun organization, whether it's the CCFR or not. But I always, obviously I have a biased opinion. But I always say just look at the level of activity and how much organizations are doing. And those are the organizations that are super busy. Those are the ones that need your money. And no matter what organization anybody is a part of, they should get involved. Like, you have to get involved at some level. Yeah.
Yes. Last but not least, do you have any questions for Travis and I?
Are you having fun?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. Travis?
Oh, I always have fun.
And it's olive drab, right?
Olive.
Okay.
Always.
All right.
Yeah, I always have fun. I work in a gun store. How can you not have fun?
What could be worse?
Yeah.
Cool. Is that about it then?
If you don't have any more questions, then yeah.
I think we're finished.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
So,
Well, thanks for having me,
you know,
guys.
And thank you for coming out and talking to us.
No problem. I'm close by. Thanks, Hayley.
Thank you, Rod. So, next time you'll see Travis and I, thank you, we should be talking about the Sub 2000, which I'm very excited to talk about. So, thank you so much for watching. Have fun, shoot safe.
And keep your powder dry.